Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into an insightful exploration titled Understanding the Sources of Morality. We'll be examining the major perspectives that shape our moral values, focusing on cultural, religious, and philosophical viewpoints. This presentation aims to shed light on how these different frameworks influence the way we think about right and wrong. I look forward to unpacking these ideas with you. Let's get started. Here, we're looking at the purpose behind comparing different sources of moral guidance. First, from the cultural perspective, moral rules are shaped by shared traditions and social norms within communities. These are the values and behaviors we learn from the society we live in. Moving to the religious perspective, morality is grounded in divine teachings and spiritual beliefs, providing clear guidance on what is considered right and wrong. Finally, from the philosophical perspective, ethics is examined through reasoned argument and universal principles, allowing us to critically evaluate moral ideas beyond cultural or religious contexts. Together, these perspectives give us a comprehensive understanding of how moral values are formed and justified. Here, we're exploring the cultural perspective on morality. First, morality primarily comes from shared social norms and traditions within communities. These are the underlying sources that guide what is considered right or wrong. Next, we have the characteristics of morality, which show us that moral practices can vary widely across different societies, a concept known as moral relativism. This means what is acceptable in one culture might not be in another. Finally, we look at the dynamics, where cultural morality is not static but evolves over time as societies change and customs shift. The image of the vibrant night market captures this dynamic cultural environment, highlighting how traditions and community behaviors shape our moral views. Here we see the key features that shape cultural morality. First, norm formation is fundamental. Morals develop through shared practices and rituals within communities, creating a common ground everyone understands. Next, social enforcement plays a crucial role, where community members uphold these norms through meetings and collective decisions, ensuring everyone stays aligned. Cultural transmission highlights the importance of elders passing down moral values to younger generations, not just through words but by example, reinforcing these lessons over time. Lastly, adaptability reminds us that moral beliefs are not fixed. They evolve in response to social changes or public protests, reflecting the dynamic nature of culture. The image here with the circle of shoes beautifully symbolizes a community coming together, emphasizing the collective aspect of moral development. Here we have an overview of the religious perspective on morality. First, the idea of divine command plays a central role. In many traditions, morality isn't just a human construct, but is guided by directives believed to come directly from a divine source. These commands help followers understand what is right and wrong. Next, we see that moral rules are often rooted in sacred texts. These ancient scriptures are considered authoritative and binding, providing a foundation for ethical behavior that adherents reference throughout their lives. Finally, there's the concept of spiritual consequences. Many believers hold that their actions have implications beyond this life, with rewards or punishments in the afterlife based on how well they follow these moral laws. Together, these points highlight how religion integrates divine authority, sacred teachings, and a framework for ethical accountability. On the right side, the image of the Torah and symbols like the Star of David reflect the deep spiritual and cultural significance of these beliefs. Here we see four key features that shape religious morality. First, scriptural authority plays a crucial role. Moral principles are often rooted in sacred texts or divine revelations, providing a solid foundation for ethical behavior. Next, commandments and duties outline specific obligations and rules that followers are expected to observe, clearly defining what constitutes moral conduct. Moving on, community rituals and collective worship not only reinforce these moral standards, but also strengthen shared values and ethical practices among believers. Lastly, beliefs about afterlife consequences, whether rewards or punishments, serve as powerful motivators for adhering to these moral guidelines. Together, these elements create a comprehensive framework that guides moral behavior within religious contexts. Here we delve into three major ethical theories that offer different perspectives on morality. First, deontology focuses on following absolute rules or duties. It teaches us that some actions are inherently right or wrong, no matter the outcome. Next, utilitarianism evaluates morality based on the results of our actions, aiming to produce the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. It's all about maximizing overall well-being. Lastly, virtue ethics centers on the moral character itself. It encourages developing virtues that reflect human nature and judges actions by how well they express these virtuous traits, rather than by strict rules or consequences. Each of these approaches gives us valuable insights into understanding what it means to act morally. Here we have 3 key features of philosophical morality, each representing a different approach to ethical reasoning. First, duty-based or deontology emphasizes rule-based reasoning, focusing on the principle of universality. This means that moral decisions should be guided by rules that apply consistently to everyone, ensuring fairness and obligation. Next, consequences-based or utilitarianism centers on evaluating the outcomes of actions to determine the greatest good for the greatest number, using empirical assessment to support these calculations. Finally, character-based ethics, also known as virtue ethics, highlights the importance of habituating virtues and exemplifying moral character. This approach focuses on the development of good character traits as the foundation for ethical behavior. Together, these perspectives offer a comprehensive understanding of morality from different angles. Here we're comparing 3 main sources of authority that shape our understanding of morality. First, cultural authority relies on social norms and customs. These are the rules and behaviors accepted within specific communities that influence what is considered right or wrong. Next, religious authority is based on divine revelation or doctrine. Sacred texts and teachings provide a framework that guides moral standards for believers. Finally, philosophical authority appeals to reasoned argument and empirical evidence. It grounds moral claims in logical analysis and observable facts, encouraging us to critically evaluate ethical principles. Each source offers a distinct foundation for how we determine what is moral. Here we see how the relative flexibility of different moral perspectives changes over time, illustrated by this line graph. The 3 lines represent cultural, religious, and philosophical moral systems. Notice that cultural flexibility generally remains higher than the others, often peaking around times 4 and 10. This suggests cultural morals adapt more readily to change. Religious flexibility, on the other hand, stays consistently lower and more stable, indicating a more rigid approach. Philosophical flexibility hovers in the middle, showing moderate change but less fluctuation than cultural views. Overall, this chart highlights how moral systems differ in their capacity to evolve, with culture leading in adaptability, religion maintaining tradition, and philosophy balancing between the two. Here we see 3 common goals that many perspectives share when it comes to building better communities and societies. First, social harmony, which focuses on promoting cooperative relationships and overall community well-being. This is about fostering trust and collaboration among individuals to create a supportive environment. Next is harm minimization, aimed at reducing suffering and preventing harm both within societies and for individuals. It's about creating systems and policies that protect people and address risks before they escalate. Finally, human flourishing emphasizes supporting growth, success, and overall well-being for people. This goal is centered on allowing individuals to thrive, reach their potential, and enjoy fulfilling lives. Together, these goals provide a comprehensive approach to nurturing healthier, more resilient communities. Looking at the trends over time, we can see clear differences in how openness to revision varies across cultural, philosophical, and religious perspectives. The cultural perspective shows the most significant increase in openness, rising steadily from 60 in 2000 to 90 by 2030. This suggests a growing willingness within cultural contexts to adapt and reconsider ideas. The philosophical perspective also demonstrates a gradual increase, from 40 to 52, indicating a more moderate but consistent openness to change. In contrast, the religious perspective remains the most resistant to revision, with only a slight increase from 20 to 25 over the same period. These trends highlight how different areas approach change, with culture leading in adaptability, philosophy showing cautious openness, and religion maintaining relatively stable views. This helps us understand the diverse ways these perspectives engage with new information or ideas. Here we explore 3 distinct case studies that illustrate different perspectives on ethics. First, the cultural case shows how a local festival can address an ethical dilemma by strengthening community harmony through shared rituals and norms. This highlights the role culture plays in shaping our moral decisions. Next, the religious case demonstrates how faith-based moral directives guide choices during ceremonies that emphasize forgiveness and charity, revealing the influence of spirituality in ethical behavior. Finally, the philosophical case presents a reasoned ethical debate that results in a utilitarian policy, promoting overall welfare in a public forum. This example underscores the importance of rational discourse in finding balanced ethical solutions. Together, these cases provide a comprehensive view of how ethical perspectives operate in various real-world contexts. Here we're looking at the implications for society and ethics through both policy and education. Starting with policy, it's crucial that legislation reflects a variety of moral perspectives. This diversity ensures that laws are fair and inclusive, addressing the complex values present in our society. On the education side, moral education programs should incorporate pluralist reasoning, which encourages students to explore and understand multiple ethical viewpoints. This approach fosters critical thinking and helps learners appreciate the richness of diverse moral frameworks. Together, these elements play a key role in shaping a more thoughtful and just society. The image here of professionals engaged in discussion underscores the collaborative effort needed in both policymaking and educational settings to achieve these goals. Here we summarize the similarities and differences among cultural, religious, and philosophical sources of morality. First, despite their diverse origins, all 3 share a common goal: promoting social cohesion and guiding behavior toward shared ethical goals within communities. This foundational similarity helps us understand their overall purpose. Next, we look at their distinct features. These sources differ primarily in their authority and justification. Religious morality often relies on divine command, cultural norms stem from tradition, and philosophy depends on rational argumentation. Recognizing these distinctions is crucial for appreciating how each source shapes our moral framework. Then, we consider the practical effects. These differences influence policymaking and education by determining which moral principles are emphasized and how they are taught in society. This highlights the tangible impact that varying moral foundations have on daily life. Finally, the concluding insight emphasizes that understanding both the common ground and the limits between these moral sources helps us navigate moral disagreements more effectively. It's this balance that allows for respectful dialogue and deeper comprehension in diverse societies. As we wrap up, let's focus on the core message. Comparing different moral sources allows us to see the value of diverse perspectives. When we appreciate these differences, it opens the door to finding shared solutions that might not have been obvious otherwise. Taking a thoughtful approach to engaging with various viewpoints enriches our moral understanding and helps us make better, more informed decisions. This kind of open-minded reflection is key to advancing both personally and collectively. Now, moving on to our Q&A and discussion segment, we'll focus on 2 significant topics. First, the challenge of balancing cultural respect. This raises the question of when cultural practices should be honored and when they might need to be questioned. It's crucial to consider how we weigh various moral claims in this context to find a fair approach. Second, we'll explore how public policy can respond effectively to religious moral claims. We'll look at different frameworks and the potential implications of these policies to understand the best ways to address such complex issues. This is a great opportunity to discuss and clarify any questions you might have. Thank you all for your attention and participation throughout this presentation. Your engagement truly made this session meaningful. On the right, you'll find some recommended books that offer deeper insights and further learning on the topics we've covered. I encourage you to explore these resources to enhance your understanding even more. The lively theater image here reflects the energy and collaboration we've shared today. and I hope you feel inspired to continue this journey beyond our time together.